Perfect. You're good to go.
Cool. Hi everyone. Hello.
All right, let's get some energy, guys. Let's do a drill, okay? I think everyone's a little tired. You say sack, we say hacks, and then you don't move till like we get loud enough. Deal? All right, let's get that started. Come on, louder, guys.
Sack.
Hacks.
Sack.
Hacks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hi guys. I am Ayush. I am also UC Davis Adam. I think I was in the same room almost 18 months ago when I was a TA here. So it's nice to be back. Uh, okay, let me just introduce myself. Uh, I am an engineer just like you guys, and I used to work at PayPal last. Oh, nice. We have one PayPal bottle. Yeah, they do give out a lot of bottles. Yeah, I did my engineering, computer science, and then I worked for a bunch of tech companies. And after that, I got bored of writing code, and then I switched over to the product side. And just like every PM, I took an MBA course and ended up in an era where everyone has to code now. It's not intense, but yeah, it's fun. Uh, I have been lucky enough that I got to work in those tech companies where the scale has been massive. So, to give you some context, does anybody know how many people are there in the US, like population wise? 340. Yeah, something like 330, 340. 395. Okay. Yeah, plus minus 10%. So, yeah, so around 350 million people live in the US, and the company logo that you see here, Geo, this is actually a telecom company in India, and their entire subscriber base was of 330, 350 million. So imagine whatever code you wrote, uh, one function call is going to be run like 350 million times. And if you are making that same function call twice or thrice, where the same thing could have been handled by just one call, you're like wasting resources. So when you actually build stuff at scale, it changes. Like writing a code or an app for your own laptop versus putting it at a massive scale, that's a different game altogether. So luckily I got to work at big tech companies like PayPal and Geo, and then right now I'm working as a product manager at a SaaS company. We create data collection platform. Now UC Davis is also one of our customers. So whatever forms you fill in to give feedback on your teachers, on your courses, most probably in the back end it's my company that's working there. So I got to work both on the engineering side as well as the product side. So I thought, yeah, let's come back home and share something with UC Davis students. So first things first, let me ask you a question. Um, how many of you have ever paid a penalty or a late fees in your life? Yeah, one, two, three, four. I mean, it doesn't matter if you return your book late or you do not pay your parking fees, you do get a penalty, right? And even if it's not a monetary penalty, you might get a mark deduction if your assignment is late. So, don't you think we should get rid of these penalties? I mean, it is punitive. It's not something which is fun. It doesn't fix the behavior of the people who are always late. So does that make sense? Should we or should we not get rid of it?
Makes sense to get rid of it, but I don't see if it's fine.
Okay. Uh, I mean, okay, how many people say yes, let's get rid of the late fees? I can submit my book back to the library whenever I feel like it. Okay, one. And how many say don't? Okay, don't. Okay, you guys are smarter than I thought. So I assumed you guys were gonna say yes, and that's why I wrote yes. That okay, at the first level, it feels like yeah, we should make that change. Like there's no point of putting in late fees, and but let's take a step back. Okay, let's try to discuss why is that not a good decision. Why should we not remove like late fees penalties? Yeah,
Hold people accountable.
to hold people accountable. Okay, what else?
Make some revenue.
Make some revenue. Okay.
It sets up structure for the exception cases.
it sets up structure for exception cases. Okay, yeah. Let's assume everybody will pay their fees, right? Like their tuition fees. It's just that it did not match my timeline, but I'll eventually pay it. But what happens in the case where everyone has started doing that? Like, I'm going to pay it at the end of the quarter or whenever I feel like it. So there are many things that might happen that might not be in a structured way. That, okay, at some points in the year, there are so many people who are actually coming there to pay up your fees, whereas there are certain people who are not at all paying up fees, right? So though, even though the decision you took that, okay, we can get rid of the fees because at the first instance it looks good, but there are changes in behavior of a person or a system that happens because of that decision. So what I'm trying to convey here is there is first order thinking that helps you focus on solving one problem, one atomic problem at a time, whereas there is second order thinking where not just you solve that problem, but also try to focus on does this solution create more problems in a system, or is it viable or even scalable enough for so many different things? So, for example, what I'm trying to say is, let's say you are writing a code, right, and it simply solves a small atomic problem, but that is not the way the rest of the code has been written. Will that create problems in future? Yeah, right. Because each and every function, these are, even though these are atomic in nature, but they do affect how memory works in a big software, how resources work in a big software, how quickly can you run code, and how many times it gets multiplied when it's done at a massive scale. So the point I'm trying to make here is vibe coding is something which is first order thinking only, right? I need an app to split whatever was due at the end of my party with my friends. But if I'm actually shipping it for my customers who are gonna pay it, who are gonna pay me for that, I need to have much more things in my mind when I'm actually releasing it to my customers. It's no more like a small project in my laptop, but it is something that is gonna make me money. So I have to worry about things more than just the functionality of it. Does that make sense? Okay. So yeah, vibe coding, as simply put, you are just asking an AI. Basically, right now AIs are just pattern recognition. It has seen okay websites and codes of so many types, so it can predict that okay, if you want me to create this kind of an app, this is the code that works for it. So you write a prompt, it generates that code, you are able to run it, and that's it. It's not at all optimized. You don't know whether that same code will be run within a certain time frame at a massive scale. So vibe coding is purely working at an atomic level that, okay, this is good enough for a demo. I can show my team internally. I can show my customers that, hey, would this be an idea that would provide value to you? Yes, no, yes, okay. Now let me figure out how can I actually develop this within my product. Does that make sense? Yeah? Or everybody is busy coding or something? Vibe coding, okay. So, yes, so why it works is dangerous. Simply put, that okay, whatever code you think is good for your laptop for a small scale of customers might not be good for a huge batch size, right? And that's why you need to take care of different other things beyond just the functionality aspect of it. It's also about scalability, whether your code scales for a million users, 100 million users, or is it secure enough or not? Like, for example, I can simply vibe code an app that collects payment, right, from my friends and whatnot. But if I'm not putting in the right protocols to correctly save an app, save credit cards in an app, then sooner or later someone is going to hack it, and then there will be bad repercussions. So that is why simply just because the functionality has been achieved via vibe code, that doesn't mean your work as an engineer ends there. And what does shipping actually mean? Like, for example, if you are in PayPal, right, or you have worked on some feature, when do you think it will be ready to be released to a customer? How do you distinguish between something has been made in-house in a safe environment, where I know for a fact that this is a happy path, that this software should run on versus when I'm releasing it in front of customers. So from my experience, what I understood is real customers are like cats, and they can do anything and everything they can in the software. So for to give you a small example, let's say you create a simple calculator, right? Calculator app like 2 plus 3 and whatnot. But if you give it to your end users, they would definitely go and try 2 divided by 0, just for the heck of it, just to see that app crash. And that is not just only for a small calculator app that everyone has done. It's true with each and every app that you see, whether it's PayPal or Twitter, X, or whatnot. Everybody wants to fiddle around with it, try to break it, and that is where the distinction comes in. That okay, what you have created in-house versus is it scalable? Is it secure? Can I figure out when did things go bad? Can I prevent my customers with trying to break it? I think when you are able to answer those questions well, when you're confident that okay, I'll be able to do that, that is when you're ready to actually ship your product to a customer. And the most important thing is when you're working for a business, you have to make sure you don't break things because that affects the revenue ultimately. So definitely moving from vibe coding, it works functionally versus to it's ready to be released. That is where you need to draw the line. That okay, yeah, now functionality has been achieved. What can I do more about it? So let's see. Now we're gonna do some small vibe coding exercise. How many of you use Lovable or know of Lovable? Okay. What do you guys use for vibe coding? Okay, Claude and wow, okay. Lovable, Replit, Base 44. I think I would associate those apps more with vibe coding versus Cloud is a full-on, IDE sort of a tool. Let's try to create something quickly. We'll just spend 15 minutes on this. Our focus will be simply to create an app that works functionally. Does that make sense? Is everybody listening? Okay. So it's 4:30 now. For next 15 minutes, choose a small, simple idea. It could be as simple as the ones that you see here, or anything that you can come up with. Like, hey, I want to make an app where I keep a track of my calories, or I keep a track of how many times did I go to the gym. Does that make sense? And feel free to choose any platform you want, whether it's Claude or Lovable or Replit. Uh, Within 15 minutes, you have to create something, and once you're done, then we are going to move to the next part of this workshop. Does that make sense? Okay. I'll just walk around and see whether I can do that or not. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry? What are you thinking?
first side has the best design. Since I had was pretty good design.
Is everyone trying to make a small app? Yes, no? Yeah, okay. Cool. Yes.
Let's try Survivor.
No.
The third one was virtual, very virtual. All right, all the time in the world.
So we're stuck like that to get the data system. We don't have anything like CS stage here, and we don't know how to write the I know.
It's okay. We can go back. That's too much work.
Yeah, let's figure it out instead. Let's make it a conversation.
Put it in here. And then me and Nick on that one.
So, okay, so it's what we
Then, when you guys say that, you can put it on the GitHub and I'm going to create it. David, you also have to create a subdivision. Yeah, yeah. I think this, I think this.
So these are we get to this. Once they do that, there is a feedback and then you can come to the main
I sent the GitHub browser to the chat.
Oh, I see.
So it's again, let us know.
This one. Yeah.
Let's get it.
So basically now what happens is by
I just turned my
so instead of 10 people doing 10 different things because each of them have their own expertise, it's just one person who's creating things, doing the different personas, different tools, and then they have all the problems, find errors, fix it, and then bring it. So now it has moved from
Just
this
get a lot of detail.
now to
That's what
because
we're
of this.
doing. That's what we're trying
Even
to
the
do.
architect who's figuring out everything.
Just
Front end,
kind of data
back
that
end,
we want.
security perspective, and I see, let's say these areas, you will get a guidelines that okay, a function should be written like this, it should be manipulated here, containers. So all these things can work together as branches. So by putting this more for like you can create a demo of it and then you can show your customers, you can show your internal stakeholders that hey, this is a feature, this is what the function of it will be. This is the problem it's going to solve, and this is how it can be implemented. Now, once we have to go to shipping part of it, now I have to make sure it adheres to all the software engineering rules of my testing.
Oh, and then start using the fonts.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just one sometimes I don't know how to join or I don't know how to use. When I say don't know what I'm doing, not to implement it and so on. You need to read more about why we use let's say Node.js over App.js. Like this concept has many, many approaches which would be explained in this video. That type of development is really important. So the more you read, the better the experience. Because now you can simply order option ready to write the code for you. But whether or not it will scale for that, that depends on is that technology good for that. this is a solution I built. It doesn't matter whether you create a this is a chunk around C, it doesn't belong to that content. What matters is that creating it very well, which is most important. All the phases moving towards products and techniques. So you don't need to worry about learning all the tools. Okay. Hello. Okay. Did someone create anything? Yeah. Okay. One. Two. Okay.
What was the question?
Oh, did you guys do some white coding? Anything small app, any small problem? Yeah. Okay. One, two, three. Now for next step, I don't know how many of you did the first step or not. For the next step, let's find a partner, and that partner is gonna try to break your code. How many of you have a partner or did create one? Okay. Okay. Now the goal is to point out what are the things that are missing in your code. So for example, I think you were working on AI resume reviewer, right? So your job would be to break his code. Just, I don't know, exchange your laptops or provide a link of like if your project has been published, just provide the link to the other person that hey, test it out. And for example, if you have created a calculator, I'm looking for ways to show you that okay, your code breaks. That would be something as stupid as dividing by 0 or adding like 10, multiplying 10 digits and extracting an answer. So your goal now is to break the other person's code. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is. Because right.
Because it only supports 6 types of bread.
Then why do you have a search bar?
Don't look at me. I slow.
Okay.
Just tell it to add more types of bread.
Try searching for the ones we do have a itch.
Yeah.
The hidden assumption is that I'm lazy audiences, you know? Well, what if I actually type it? It's because you don't just know it. No, never. More respectful to the rest.
As expected, you should just take it to a nice I cannot do this.
What happens with the cursor is that
No! I hit my daily minute.
Whoever was not, she was the only one who was talking to at the time.
100 registered like applicants.
But like, I remember when we came here to this. I saw maybe that was dangerous. What's that? There was it was just bound to us.
I have a question. What team did you work at hip hop?
I was working on a team that used to move legacy code into a newer line. So it was more like going through very old Java code and writing it into Did you find any response?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you do? What happened?
When he's been wanting to make sense of college.
I'm in an app that tells you history about bread, where it was first like made, where it was sort of fun facts.
So it's assuming you're just gonna click the icons, but you can't actually search.
Okay, there's no such thing.
It looks
No,
like there
it
is.
only works for the ones that are listed there. So if you try anything else,
But it does work. Like if I type in non instead of clicking the button for non, it does work. It just doesn't.
because I think I used like,
It's not bad.
yeah,
I searched for non.
I think I gave up because I used my
You
name
have
in
to-
the
Oh.
So like,
It was already
It's already on.
Maybe it
It
just
works
likes
50%
non.
of the time.
No, I think
Those
it's
are
not.
inventors.
Oh.
Mentoring, sure. And seeing the
What AI tool do you recommend?
Sorry?
What AI tool do you recommend?
Oh, and so
Yeah.
What? Hear me out. Get with me right now. Are they drive? Yes. There's no one here.
First of all, show me it works or not.
from something.
Is it published this?
I want to and or concept.
So the same PDF you upload works. Yes, the same PDF. I think it's just the preview that is working on the. Can you try to fix it? See, that's the thing. Just that thing is you don't have any way to you are not seeing where to go. Yeah, you have to go to the Okay. For the people who did create an app and then the people who did break that app, did you guys did you feel like sharing what did you break?
So he made a bread app, and it had a little search bar and then pre-populated once, and it just assumed that I would be lazy and click the button. But I went to search like something that was not on the buttons, and it didn't have a record of that.
Yeah. So did you add any database in the backend, or is it just hard coded values?
I think it was just hard.
Okay.
I told it to add more, but it told me I have to pay.
Oh wow.
It assumed we would pay for this exercise.
Okay, your credits got consumed much
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No? Okay. So what happens when you give your app or your product in front of a customer, right? As I told you, assume your customers are like a cat. They're gonna play with it. They're gonna put in, inputs that are not supposed to be there, and they're gonna try to break something or the other. So, these are the couple of things that definitely happen if you are not thinking about creating something from a holistic perspective versus just a functional one. Like for example, in your case, when you're creating that bread app, you have to think about the entire stack that hey, this is my database, this is where my data is kept, how will new data get in, how will I read it again and again. Now from my front end part, you assume that your user is going to just click on it, but what if they type on it or even copy paste a text that you already have? So that is where vibe coding is mostly to show your functionality. But when you actually go ahead and release it, you have to test it thoroughly. And that means not just testing the happy path that, okay, you're supposed to click here. No, your user is going to do very random things with it. So it's your job to get the functionality correct and also restrict them that, hey, this is how you're supposed to use this app. So that is where you move on from being more of a demo engineer to a product engineer, right? Because see, right now in this room, the stakes are very low. Your app didn't work, that's it. It doesn't matter. But when you're actually working in a tech company where your money is riding on your software, you can't afford those sort of mistakes. And that is why you have to go beyond just the happy path. You have to try to figure out that, okay, what might break in my code? Is it scalable for, let's say, if I run this code a million times? Or is it simply good enough for like a small work? So that is the kind of shift that you have to move. That okay, I've already vibe coded my project. Now I want to actually start selling that. I actually want to charge people for it. So what are the things that you need to do? First is, as I told you, you need to figure out how would you nudge your users into using the product correctly. So for example, with PayPal, um, we restrict it to only clicking it on certain icons, allowing you to add, let's say, only numbers when you are like tapping that, hey, send me $100. Obviously, you're not allowed to put in alphabets. So that is a way of restricting the user on what type of input they are putting in. So when you are actually looking to commercialize your product, you have to figure out what are the different failure states. What kind of stupidities my customer could be doing. Like for example, I can send $50, can send $500, but can I send 500 million? Obviously not. So why should I even allow in my text box for that big of a number to be entered, right? So it's not just about the functionality, but also the boundaries that you set around it. And of course, the scalability aspect of it. Coding for a room full of 100 people that are going to run that code versus something that gets multiplied over and over again, that is where different issues pop up. It's not just about creating a solution that works, but also creating a solution that is scalable, that can be run at multiple levels. Are you cleaning up after you're done with something, right? For example, caching, everybody knows about caching, right? Yeah, what's the point of caching?
Fast retrieval of regular data, like frequent data.
Okay, faster travel of regular data. Okay, and when do you update that cache? How much of that cache do you need to maintain? If my cache itself is as huge as my main database, it defeats the entire purpose of increasing the speed at which you can access it, right? So all these things come under an actual These are the things that you need to consider for when you actually want to publish a project, when you actually want to start making money off of it, right? And yeah, the last line, always assume your code is wrong. I think that is something that applies for the code that is generated by AI as well. So I literally have done that in my current role. That okay, we did write up a code, but we did it in a way that was not at all memory efficient. So how many of you have created databases or even connected to a database and like made like an API? Yeah, you do need to open a connection to a database, right? Yeah, and then you run your queries, and that's it. We are done.
You're gonna close the connection.
Exactly. So at my time at PayPal, I did open a connection, but I forgot to close it. And within like 12 hours, the cache or the memory of hours for that particular instance ran out because there were so many database connections that were open. So, from start to end, it reminds me of that Harry Potter scene where he was trying to like play with fire, but he did not know how to extinguish it. So it's just like that. You have opened a database connection, but if you forgot about it, and it's working well in your laptop because it's a small, it's a small scenario, but when it happens at a massive scale, you're definitely going to break the system. So okay, and that is what this entire presentation was about. Vibe coding is very lightweight. You are showing your stakeholders that hey, this is what we are working on, or this is what we're pursuing. But when you actually have to productize, shipping that involves a lot of responsibility because you are affecting a real business where disruption in services costs you money, right? For example, if you work at Netflix and if you break their searching service, uh, there will be a lot of customers who will be annoyed. I think I spent like first 15 minutes just searching the right content instead of actually watching it. So if that service itself is not working, you're gonna get a lot of complaints, right? So coding is easy. Shipping is something which takes a lot of responsibility. It's not just about functionality, it's also about scalability, security aspect of it, and of course, is it maintainable or not? Am I using an outdated technology that I know for a fact nobody maintains? Then why am I doing that? Because software keeps updating, libraries keep updating, and accordingly, you should also make sure that you are updating yourself. And yeah, that's it for today. Thanks everyone. Cool. Okay.
So
Yeah, yeah.
board division. Do you want to ask if they have any questions?
Yeah.
And if not, like we can head downstairs or like
Okay.
people want to talk or if you want to give them advice on their projects or anything like that. That would be
Okay. In case you guys have any questions, feel free. I'll be sticking around in the building here itself for some time. So
Who's with
Ayush.
Ayush Daniel?
Again.
Nice to meet you. I just have a couple questions. So,
Connection to time.
this like presentation that you made, was talking about the vibe coding. How much of this like do you follow these principles in your day-to-day life and like your industry? Like,
So
It's like when you
okay, I'm a product manager. I try to figure out which is the best problem to solve for my customers.
gotcha.
Okay, that starts with prioritization. There are a bunch of problems that you can solve, but we only solve the problems that create big impact. Okay, so first part comes with which problems to choose. Second would be what are the different ways of solving that problem. And this is just me as a product team member. I work on figuring out that okay, this is how we solve for it. So that is where I use tools such as Lovable to write code a solution. Like for example, last week I was working on a new billing page.
Okay.
So right now, in our software, when you buy a subscription, you can buy it online, but if you have to cancel it, you'll have to reach out to customer support for
That's
that.
it.
If you have to edit your subscription, you have to reach out to customer support for that.
That's it.
So I was working on creating a new billing page where you can actually do that on your own, choosing what are the packages you want, how much will you use that? Is it it's usage based pricing, so how much would you need that? And then just by a click of a button that updates your subscription. So this is the part where I'm write coding, but when I have to actually implement it, that is when I go to engineering. That hey, this is the sort of solution that I'm looking for. This is the feel of it. This is the functionality of it. Now you have to implement it in a software. So what they do is they take my code. They see okay, the front end part is pretty much complete because I already vibe coded it. But for example, there are libraries that is specific to our system. They replace that with the one that I gave them because that is the real code that is already working in production. Then they actually hook it up with the backend on how to calculate stuff, on how to run that query, on how to make sure it functionally works. And then finally, they are the one who are so